As you know, WGN is finishing up a broadcasting partnership with the Cubs that is the longest in baseball. Started in 1948 on the television side. I have an interview done in 2002 with the late great Lloyd, who talks about some of these really cool WGN stories about how Jack Brickhouse helped him get his job at WGN in 1949. He talks about his broadcast partner Lou Boudreau. He talks about Harry Caray. He talks even about Arne Harris, who was the great director for WGN for so many years. You're going to love it. This is WGN right here.
We probably had as good a crew to work with as any station in the country or any network. There wasn't any backstabbing of anybody. If you needed somebody to help you out on maybe an assignment at night, speaking, ask one of them, yeah, I'll do it, I'm free. You needed some money, borrow some money, yeah, here. We had a lot of fun together when we were on the road and played a lot of night games. We never brought golf clubs with us, but we'd know guys at different country clubs around the country. A lot of them were from Chicago. And we'd give them a call. Yeah, come out and bring some guys with you. We'd go out and play and always have a dozen bets going, you know.
Sure.
I don't know whoever kept track of them. I first knew Jack when I was in Peoria. He had been from the same station I was with. And he came down for something and we went out. I put him on the air. We did an interview, had a few drinks together. And he would come down every once in a while, we'd yak. I liked him. Well, one night I get a phone call after I do a sports show, and it's him calling from Chicago, wants me to come up to WGN. And I said, Jack, I appreciate the offer and everything, but I said, I'm happy here, I like it, my wife likes it, we both like Peoria very much. I said, thanks, but no thanks. It was yes, and hung up. He called again a couple of nights later. I turned him down again. And the station manager called. Well, they wanted me to come up. This was in September. The first thing would be to do Big Ten football on television, and then work with them on boxing and wrestling and any sports that came up along the way. Big Ten basketball. And I went in and told the boss about it, and he said, go ahead. He said, we made a mistake here. He said, the board of directors voted to give back our television license and go into FM. He said, they made a big mistake. He said, you go on up there, learn all you can about it. He said, when they finally decide to try to get their television license back, he said, there are two kinds. He says, they gave up the best kind, they won't get it back, they'll get what's called UHF. But they'll want you to come down and set up the station. That happened about 7 years later. And I turned that down. But the first year was Big Ten football, Big Ten basketball, boxing and wrestling. And I had a ball. I told my wife, I think I'm going to stay. She wasn't very happy about it, but she finally came up with our son. It was a little baby. That was September of '49, and I stayed 38 years.
Wow.
Just had a ball. Rick was a lot of fun. We played gin together and shot golf, and a few beers along the way. And Lou, when we got the Cubs on radio, they hired him as a color guy, and he and I got pretty close. We had a hotel right next door to the Tribune Tower, and they had a heck of a good gym. We played basketball, and God, he killed me. We played badminton, and he was so quick with his hands. We'd work out at noon for an hour and a half, really work up a good sweat. We got to be good friends that way. And when our radio guy, Quinlan, was killed out here, car accident, as I told you, he's the guy that made the final phone call. I wasn't going to do it, and said, if you don't take the job, I'm going to quit. I said, "You can't mean that, Lou." And he says, "I do mean it. He's not going to work with anybody else." And that's what persuaded me to accept the offer. When I came out here, Phoenix, the rest of spring training, he met me at the airport. He already had a place for me to stay. And we hit it off, spring training right away. And we became as close as brothers over the years. Many years, we would, on the road, we'd rent a small suite. We could stay together in a hotel instead of one guy here and one guy there. And we went out after ball games on the road together and rehashed the ball game. Went to racetracks all over the country. Just had a real good time. He had as good a baseball mind as I have ever encountered. As a player and a manager, he knew the game inside out. And there were things about his record that always stuck with me. The few times he ever struck out, I think there was one year, in 1948, when he managed and shortstopped the Indians, and they won the American League pennant, and they went on to win the World Series. That whole season, Tim, came to bat over 500 times. How many times do you think he struck out?
Well, 50. But I bet you it's something like, what, 20?
9.
9! Oh, jeez. That's amazing.
You see guys that strike out that often in a week.
Yeah, exactly. Who was it that just struck out? Gonzalez just struck out 4 times yesterday.
Yeah.
In one game.
But we would talk baseball sometimes till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on the road. About different pitchers, different fielders. He'd say, no, watch this guy in the field tomorrow and see if he moves on a count. I said, what do you mean? Well, he says, if the count is 2-0 and you got any kind of a hitter up there, he's probably going to pull the ball and pull it hard. So if you're playing in center field, you're going to move over a little bit for him to pull. Left field a little nearer the line. Your shortstop moves over a foot or 2. Second baseman a little bit. First, he says, if you're in the game, that's what you do. And so there were things like that I'd watch for, and sure enough, you see the guys who were with it, and the ones who weren't with it. I'd see guys who, I remember the first time I said, Lou, it looked to me like he was fooled on that pitch. He'd say, you're absolutely right, he was. He was looking for this pitch and he wasn't ready for the other one. I said, well, how do you overcome that? He said, you always look for the guy's best pitch. That way you're not going to be fooled. I don't care what the count is. Look for his best pitch.
Makes sense.
Good advice.
Right.
But how many guys do it? They look for the pitch they want.
Sure, because that's the one they think they can handle.
Yeah.
Huh.
He put himself into a game one time when he was managing as a pinch hitter. Bases were loaded, 2 outs, 2 strikes on the hitter. He lifted him, put himself into pinch hit, banged one off the wall, won the game.
That's a gutsy call right there. Jeez.
That takes some guts.
Yeah, I would say so. That's pretty amazing right there.
I remember too when in the playoffs he was doing color, but Rick Sutcliffe was pitching. It was about 5th or 6th inning, I think. About the 6th inning. No, it wouldn't have been the 5th. It was either the 6th or 7th. Memory's starting to go. He said, they ought to take Sutcliffe out of there right now. I think San Diego had like maybe 1 or 2 runs. I said, why do you say that, Lou? He said, he's getting tired. Milo Hamilton was doing play-by-play and looked at him quizzically, didn't say anything. I said, well, boy, he seems to be pitching well. He said, when he starts throwing a pitch and then walking around the mound afterwards, he's getting tired. He always does it. And Sutcliffe admitted later in an interview after the game, some of the writers, he was starting to get tired.
Well, you sound like
That's a kind of how sharp he was in observation, what was going on.
Sure. Just those subtle things that he could pick up on
Yeah,
that a lot of people
yeah.
didn't see.
Yeah. But we had a lot of fun together. I knew Arne before he became a director, when he was an assistant. And I was doing interviews on TV, and he would be down in the field with me as the assistant director, tell me when to start, how much time I had left, when to cue a commercial. That's how he got started. He came over to us from the Globetrotters.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He was their PA announcer.
Wow.
Traveled all over the world with them. He wanted to be a sports announcer.
Okay. Ended up getting into that side of it and
Yeah.
basically found a home and stayed.
Yeah.
A long
I was
time.
so shocked when he died.
I was too.
He was probably the best baseball director in the country, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. I mean,
Boy,
when I
he was so quick.
would watch those games and see some of the things that he pulled off.
Oh, yeah.
He was just amazing at what he did.
I remember
he
one
used
of
to
his
like to go to
first
the
rules was you don't miss a run scoring in the game. That's what the whole game is about,
Right.
scoring a run. You always get that. And he would cut from whatever he was shooting. The guy come up that line to the home plate, you always saw him.
Right.
A lot of times you don't see that now. Guy will show something else, then they'll use the tape to go back if they can and show the run scoring. That was one of his first rules. And he had the idea that because there were so many lapses in baseball, time for a pitcher to throw the ball, you got to find something to make the game interesting. And that's when he started shooting fans.
Right.
And he made it interesting.
Yeah, he was one of the best at that. Picking out and having
Yeah.
whoever found all, I'm sure he had the cameramen kind of searching when they
Oh,
worked
yeah, he
on,
did.
the crowd.
And they loved it. They loved working with him.
Yeah.
Because he was so sharp. And he knew his baseball. You had to do what he did. I was still working when Harry came. He'd been with the White Sox.
Right.
I had first known him when he was in St. Louis. He was doing the Cardinal game. Whenever we were down there, Lou and I would meet him for lunch or dinner or drinks after the ball game, shoot the breeze with him. I always liked him. He was a very outgoing guy. He had a good personality. I didn't agree with him a lot of times on his call of a game, but that's a personal thing.
Right.
But he was fun to be around. And I remember at the press conference where it was announced he was going to join us, one of the reporters with, I think, NBC at the time, on TV, I was sitting with everybody. He said, what's your comment, Vince, on Harry joining you guys? I know what he wanted me to say. I looked at him and said, he's a pro, isn't he? Yeah. I said, I'm happy to have him. He's another pro. One of the moguls at the station saw it when it was aired that night, called me at home. There's a hell of an answer. I said, well, I meant it. He isn't going to hurt us. I didn't think he'd be as popular with the Cub fans as he came to be. It was amazing.
What do you think that was about?
I don't know. There's just something about him that they thoroughly enjoyed. I remember after doing some games one year, 4 or 5 years after I'd retired, and he had hurt himself some way, but they asked me to do weekend games for the whole month of September. Started in Chicago, went to Atlanta for a weekend, San Diego for a weekend, back to Chicago. And in fact, the San Diego game was the first one I remember Sammy Sosa, Fernando Valenzuela struck him out 3 times that night. You know, the damn pitch down and away. And I said to Stone, I said, I can't believe this guy doesn't know what Valenzuela throws. He keeps chasing that ball. He's got to break his bat in the dirt. So I never thought much of him for several years. But when I came back after the San Diego weekend, walked into the press box, Harry is there. So he's on, Vince, get over here. I said, what's the matter, Harry? He says, I just want to hug you. He said, you did a fantastic job. Just wonderful. He said, you got to come back to work. I said, Harry, thank you. I said, 4 weekends on the road, the month is enough. I remember now why I retired. He said, no, I'm going to call Jim and get him to hire you back for next year full time. You know, there's nobody here can touch you.
That's great.
Wasn't that something? But I got a kick out of Harry.
Don't forget the Cubs Dude podcast is coming. Yes, I know. It's coming soon. Be ready.